The HOA president stood at my gate, smiling like she owned the place. Her clipboard shook in her hand, and so did her voice. She said I was violating community spirit because I wouldn't unlock my own lake house for her and her friends. That's when I realized this wasn't about rules, it was about control, and when I said no, her perfect smile cracked, and everything started to fall apart. But here's the part no one knows. What she did next changed everything. Hey everyone, welcome back to Echo Justice Stories, where every neighborhood secret hides behind a friendly smile. If you've ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA, or you love seeing them finally get what they deserve, make sure to subscribe right now, and share this story with that one friend who still has an HOA fine sitting on their kitchen counter. Let's get into it. I never thought peace could sound this quiet. The water, the wind through the pines, and that tiny creak from my wooden gate, the one that always sticks a little before it shuts. That lake house was my escape from the world. No meetings, no drama, just me, a fishing pole, and a cold beer on the dock. Until she showed up. The HOA president, pink blazer, bright smile, and that fake "I'm just here to help" tone that always hides a storm behind it. She called me by my first name, like we were friends, but her eyes scanned my yard like a cop looking for trouble. She said the HOA board had been discussing my property. Discussing my property? I remember thinking, what the hell does that mean? I kept my voice calm. Something wrong with it. She smiled. The view is beautiful, and the lake access would be perfect for our summer community gathering. I laughed. I thought she was joking, but she didn't laugh back. She tilted her head, waiting for me to agree, like I didn't have a choice. I told her, politely, no, that's private. Not open for events. Her smile twitched, just a little, and she said the words every HOA president uses before they ruin your week. Well, we'll see what the board says about that. Next morning, there was an envelope on my door. A violation notice. Apparently, my mailbox was 2 inches taller than regulation height. I'd had that same damn mailbox for 4 years. But suddenly, it was a problem. Then came another one. Unauthorized lighting fixture. It was a string of patio lights I'd put up for my niece's birthday. Then another suspicious vehicle parked overnight. Yeah, my truck. I could feel it happening, the slow squeeze, the way HOA people test you, to see how much you'll take before you break. But they picked the wrong guy this time. A week later, I saw her again, walking around with a clipboard and sunglasses. She didn't wave, just pointed at my gate, took a photo, wrote something down. I shouted, need a picture for the next fine. She smiled, didn't answer. Man, that smile made me want to throw her clipboard straight into the lake. So, I decided to play it cool. I didn't react. I followed every rule in the handbook, exact measurements, exact colors, exact font on my mailbox numbers. I even printed out their guidelines and stapled them to my shed wall like a badge of petty honor. If they wanted to play compliance games, I'd beat them with their own rulebook. But the real showdown started one hot Saturday afternoon. I was cleaning my grill, country music on the radio, when I heard her voice again, right outside the gate. She wasn't alone this time. She had 3 board members with her, all wearing sunglasses like they were about to raid a drug house. She called out, "We're hosting the HOA summer kickoff. The board voted to use your lake access for the event." I walked up to the gate, wiped my hands on a towel, and looked her dead in the eye. "The board can vote on whatever it wants," I said, "but this gate doesn't open for you." She blinked, then fake laughed. "You don't understand. This is for the community." I shrugged. "So's my peace and quiet." She stepped closer, high heels sinking into the date. "You're required to cooperate. It's in the bylaws." I leaned on the gate. "That's funny, because the county says this property isn't under HOA jurisdiction." That's when her face changed. The color drained right out of it. She looked back at her board buddies. They looked at her like, you didn't check that?" She started flipping through her binder, pages rustling, frustration growing. Then she snapped, "You can't just hide behind paperwork. This community runs on respect." "Yeah," I said, "respect, not dictatorship." Her jaw clenched and she whispered, "You'll regret this." Then she turned around and stormed off. Her board followed, like ducks chasing a sinking ship. Over the next few days, it got worse. Anonymous letters, friendly reminders, HOA patrol cars parked near my driveway, even a drone buzzing over my dock one morning. I waved at it, middle finger up, never saw it again. I started getting texts from neighbors, some cheering me on, others warning me, saying she was furious, saying she called me a bad example for the neighborhood. One guy even told me she planned to file a community obstruction complaint, whatever the hell that means. The thing about power-hungry people is they can't handle the word no. It's like poison to them. Then, one night around 10 p.m., I heard knocking, soft at first, then harder. I peeked out the window. Her car was in my driveway. She was standing there, in that same pink blazer. Hair messy this time, no board members, no clipboard, just her, and something desperate in her eyes. I didn't open the door, I just watched. She knocked again, then yelled, "You think you can embarrass me? You'll see what happens." And she walked off into the dark. The next morning, I got an official notice in the mail. Failure to comply with HOA requests may result in legal action. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee because I knew something she didn't. I had called the county zoning office and requested every map, boundary, and HOA registration file for our area. Guess what? My property was never legally annexed into the HOA zone. She'd been bluffing the whole damn time. I printed out those county documents, framed them, and hung them right by my gate. So next time she came around, she could read them before wasting ink on another violation notice. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. People like her don't just quit, they double down, they plot, they wait for another opening. And I could feel it like a storm building over the lake. Quiet at first, but ready to break everything when it hits. Now tell me, what would you do if your HOA president showed up at your gate in the middle of the night, demanding to be let in? Would you open the door, or let her stand there and stew in her own power trip? Drop your answer in the comments. I really want to know what side you'd be on. For a few days, things went quiet, too quiet. No letters, no texts, no surprise inspections from the board. I thought maybe, just maybe, she had finally given up. But that's the thing about HOA presidents. They don't stop, they plot. It started small, a single note taped to my trash can. Trash cans must be stored out of public view. Which was weird, because the trash pickup spot was designated by the HOA itself. I laughed, tossed the note in the garbage, and thought that was the end of it. But the next morning, my mailbox was open and every piece of mail inside was soaked in lake water. Coincidence? Yeah, right. Then came the whispers at the grocery store, at the gas station, even at the lakefront diner. People looked at me funny, some smiled awkwardly. Others didn't look at all. I overheard one woman say, "Here's the guy who tried to sue the HOA. I didn't sue anybody, but she was spreading that story like wildfire." I swear, this woman had turned my whole neighborhood into a gossip cult. So I decided to confront her head-on. I went to the next HOA meeting. She didn't expect to see me walk through those glass doors. You should have seen her face. It was priceless. Everyone went quiet, all eyes on me, and she tried to keep her cool, adjusting her little pearl necklace and forcing that fake smile again. "Welcome, Mr. Hayes," she said. "Is there something you'd like to share with the board?" "Yeah," I said, "just wanted to remind everyone, my property isn't part of your HOA." You could have heard a pin drop. One guy in the back choked on his coffee. I pulled out my county documents, set them right on the table. "This says your HOA line stops 20 feet before my gate," I said, "so if you send me another fine, it's fraud." Her smile cracked again, and that's when I knew I had hit her pride. She leaned forward, eyes cold. "Mr. Hayes, you may not be under our HOA, but your behavior still affects the image of our community." I smirked. "Oh, you mean because I didn't let you throw a party on my property?" Her jaw tightened. The board members looked uncomfortable, like they were realizing their queen had no crown. I stood up and walked out without another word. The next morning, it was war. Someone dumped fertilizer all over my driveway. My front gate was jammed shut with gum and gravel, and my garden hose had been cut clean in half. I didn't need cameras to know who did it. I just stood there, staring at the mess, and whispered to myself, "Okay, you want to play? Let's play." So I fought back, not with revenge, but with compliance. I became the perfect citizen, cut my lawn to regulation height, painted my fence the HOA-approved beige, replaced my mailbox, again, exactly 42 inches high. And then, I started sending them letters. Formal requests for clarification, questioning contradictions in their handbook, every little thing that didn't match county code. And when they didn't reply within the required 10 business days, I filed official complaints with the county compliance office. She wanted a war of paperwork. She picked the wrong guy. By month 2, her perfect little kingdom was falling apart. The county launched an audit. Board members started resigning. Neighbors were gossiping again, but this time about her. One even sent me a screenshot from the HOA Facebook page. She'd posted this long rant about ungrateful residents and property defiance. The comments were brutal. Half the neighborhood roasted her. Someone even made a meme of her yelling at a mailbox. I laughed so hard, I nearly dropped my phone into the lake. But she wasn't done not yet. She started showing up in random places like the hardware store, the diner, even the lakeside trail. Always pretending it was coincidence, but her timing was too perfect. Once, she stood near my truck staring at my fishing gear and said, "You must be proud of yourself." I smiled, "I am." She just nodded, eyes burning, then turned away. That was the first time I saw her shake like she was losing her grip on the power she'd built from fear. Then one night, I saw lights across the lake. Not from a house, from my dock. I grabbed a flashlight, walked down the path, and saw beer cans, footprints, and a folding chair left behind. She'd done it again, she'd trespassed, but I didn't call the cops, not yet. I wanted her to dig her own grave a little deeper. Next morning, I got another notice. Handwritten this time, no envelope, just a single sheet of paper taped to my gate. "Enjoy your property while you can." No signature, no logo, just those words. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't about a lake house anymore, it wasn't even about rules. This was personal. I started keeping my phone on record whenever I was outside, installed a small camera by the gate, and saved every single document and message in a folder labeled HOA War Evidence. I wasn't scared. I was ready. Because people like her, they don't stop until someone stops them. And I was more than ready to be that someone. Then, one night, a neighbor texted me a photo. It was her car stuck halfway in the mud by the lake, headlights still on, driver door open. No one inside. She tried to sneak in again, and got herself locked out. For real this time. I just stayed at that picture for a long minute, half angry, half amused. And part of me wondered, was she just obsessed, or completely losing it? That night, the lake felt different too, still too quiet. Even the frogs had stopped croaking, like they knew something I didn't. I sat on my porch, staring at the dark water, thinking about that picture. Her car stuck in the mud, door open, no one inside. Part of me wanted to laugh, the other part didn't, because something about it didn't feel like a win, it felt like a warning. Next morning, I walked down to the dock. Her footprints were still there, small, perfect heels buried halfway in the dirt, and near them, a broken heel snapped clean off. She must have slipped, maybe fell, or maybe she was too angry to care. I found one of her earrings, too gold, expensive looking, still warm from the sun. I held it up, and for a moment, I felt this weird chill run down my arm. She'd been this close to my door again. By afternoon, the rumors started. Someone said she'd gone missing, someone else said she was taking time off for stress. But no one really knew. The HOA page went silent, no posts, no announcements, just quiet. For a few days, life went back to normal, or at least, it tried to. Until one morning, I woke up to music. Not from my phone, not from the radio. It was coming from the lake. It was soft, old jazz, the kind she used to play at HOA meetings. You could hear it echo across the water like some ghostly karaoke from the 50s. I walked out to the dock. The sound got louder. A single speaker floating half submerged in the water, still playing. I swear, my heart dropped right there. I pulled it out. Dripping wet and taped to the side was a note. "Enjoy the peace, while it lasts." Same handwriting, same neat curve, same crazy tone. I didn't know whether to laugh or call the cops. So I called one of the board members instead, a guy named Ron. Decent guy. Kind of nervous, always avoided conflict. He sounded shaken on the phone. "Look, man, I don't know what's going on with her." He said she hasn't been to a meeting in a week, but she keeps sending us emails from weird addresses. "What kind of emails?" I asked. He cited pictures of your house. I froze. "What kind of pictures?" He hesitated. "The kind taken from close range." That night I barely slept. Every creak in the house felt like footsteps. Every shadow outside looked like her silhouette. I checked my locks twice, pulled the blinds, sat with my dog by the window till morning. Next day, I decided to end it. I drove down to the county office, talked to the same zoning officer I'd spoken to before. Showed him the new notes and the photo I got from Ron. He looked concerned, said they'd look into it, but his tone told me not to expect much. On my way back, I stopped by her house. The pink door was shut, mailbox overflowing with letters, lawn overgrown like no one had been there in days. Something about it felt wrong. I knocked anyway, no answer. I peered through the window, empty coffee mug on the counter, keys on the table. And taped to the fridge, a photo of the lake. My lake. I drove home fast, didn't even park right, just ran to my back porch. My gate was open, one hinge snapped clean off. And lying in the grass, that same pink blazer, dainty torn, soaked in mud. I don't scare easy, but that moment, something in me shifted. This wasn't an HOA feud anymore, this was obsession. She wasn't trying to find me or control me, she was trying to own me. For the next few nights, I slept with lights on every night. The same dream, her voice echoing across the lake, "You can't keep us out." Sometimes I'd wake up, thinking I heard knocking, but every time I checked, nothing, just the wind against the boards. Then, a week later, there was another HOA letter in my mailbox. Only this time, it wasn't a fine. It was an invitation. The board requests your attendance at an emergency meeting, 7 p.m., Lake Pavilion. No sender, no signature, just the HOA logo and my name. I knew it was a bad idea, but curiosity, it's a dangerous thing. So yay, I went. When I got there, the pavilion was empty, just chairs, tables, and the faint smell of perfume. Haze. On the table, a folder, inside it, photos of my property taken from different angles at night. And at the bottom, one last picture. Me, sitting on my porch from behind. That was the moment I knew. She wasn't gone, she was watching. Maybe from the trees, maybe from the lake, maybe right behind me. I turned around, and for a second, I swear I saw movement near the water, but when I shined my flashlight, nothing. Just ripples. So I packed up my things, called a buddy to stay over, and I made a promise to myself. If she wanted a war, it was time she learned what happens when you push too far. Because peace only belongs to the people who fight for it. I didn't sleep that night. Every little sound felt louder than it should. The creak of the dock, the whisper of the wind through the trees, even my own heartbeat. It felt like the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. Morning came, but the light didn't make me feel safer, it just made me see everything clearer. Footprints by the shore, small barefoot leading straight into the water. And stopping there. No footprints coming back. I told myself it was nothing, could have been kids, could have been raccoons. But deep down, I knew. The HOA president wasn't gone, she was here somewhere between the trees and the lake. I went into town that day, tried to act normal, bought coffee, chatted with the cashier. But people looked at me strange, like they knew something I didn't. Finally, one old man said quietly, "You hear about the car they pulled out the lake?" My stomach twisted. "What car?" He said, "Pink blazer on the seat, purse on the dash." I drove straight there. The whole place was taped off, cops talking by the water, reporters snapping pictures. They said it looked like she drove in herself, accident or maybe not. No sign of foul play, no sign of her. Just her car and the smell of lake water and gasoline. That night I sat on my porch, the same spot I used to drink beer and watch the sunset. But now, it felt cursed, like the air itself remembered. I told myself it was over, that the nightmare was done. But around midnight, I heard it again. The jazz. Soft, slow, floating across the water like a ghost. I grabbed my flashlight, walked down the dock. The light shimmered on the waves, and I swear I saw something move beneath them. Not fish, not waves, something human-shaped. I dropped the light, it rolled across the board, stopped at the edge. And I heard a voice, low, broken, familiar. "You can't keep us out." I backed away, heart pounding, every part of me screaming to run, but curiosity, yeah, that old curse again, kept me frozen. The water rippled and a bubble rose to the surface, then another. I grabbed the light, shined it down, nothing. Just dark water staring back. Next morning, I told my neighbor on what I saw. He looked pale. He said, "Funny you mentioned that. I got an email last night." "From who?" He looked at me, voice shaking. "From her account." I laughed nervously. "Probably a glitch, man." He showed me his phone. The subject line said, "Meeting tonight, Lake House." And the message body, a single line, "Bring him." We both stared at the screen. Neither of us said a word for a long time. Finally I said, "Maybe someone hacked her email." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, maybe." But his hands were shaking too much for it to just be maybe. By evening, my phone buzzed. No caller ID. I answered anyway. Nothing but silence. Then breathing, slow, heavy, wet. I said, "Who is this?" Then came that same line, almost whispering, almost underwater. "You can't keep us out." Click. That was it. That was the moment I realized this story wasn't ending on its own. I wasn't the target anymore. I was the message. I called the police, told them everything. They searched the lake, found nothing new. said the case was closed due to insufficient evidence. But they didn't see what I saw, didn't feel what I felt. The lake wasn't empty, it was hiding something. For weeks after, people started moving out, houses for sale, lawns dying, mail piling up. The neighborhood that once bragged about perfect curb appeal now looked like a ghost town. The HOA disbanded quietly, no announcement, no apology. Just gone. One afternoon, I got another letter. No return address, no stamp. Just slip under my door. Inside, a single photo. My lake house, but older, from before I bought it. And in the photo, a woman standing by the dock wearing the same pink blazer. Except this photo was dated 10 years before I moved in. I stared at it for hours. The paper smelled faintly of perfume, her perfume. And right across the bottom, in that same perfect handwriting, "You still owe us one gathering." That night, I sat by the dock again. The moon was high, the water calm. And for a second, I thought I saw her reflection beside mine, smiling perfect, still pretending to be polite. A week passed. No letters, no late-night calls, no music drifting from the lake. It almost felt normal again, almost. But quiet in this neighborhood? That's the biggest red flag of all. So I decided, if the ghost of the HOA wanted a show, I'd give her one. I pulled out the old HOA handbook, 53 pages of nonsense about mailbox fonts, fence stains, and lawn colors. And I read every word, every ridiculous, soul-sucking rule. Then I realized something beautiful. The rules didn't just control me. They could destroy the people who made them. So I got creative. I measured lawns at night with a tape measure, left anonymous friendly reminders on driveways, reported unauthorized bird feeders to county pest control. Within 2 weeks, half the remaining neighbors got violation letters from me. All perfectly legal, all written using their own bylaws. I even filed a noise complaint against myself, just to prove how broken their system was. Word spread fast. People started laughing. The HOA's reputation, what was left of it, crumbled. One guy down the street thanked me, said, "You're like Robin Hood with paperwork." Another offered me beer for every fine I triggered by Friday. I had a small army of fed-up homeowners cheering me on. Then I did something bold. I took all those rules, bound them in a shiny binder, and mailed it to the local news. Headline next day read, "Homeowner uses HOA rules to collapse HOA." The article went viral online. Comment sections exploded. People shared their own HOA horror stories. For once, I wasn't the villain of the neighborhood, I was the guy who fought back. But the weirdest part, ever since that story ran, the lake stopped feeling heavy. No whispers, no footsteps, no jazz at midnight. Just wind, water, and peace. Like the place finally exhaled. Then one morning, I walked down to the dock, and there, sitting neatly on the railing, was that gold earring again. Same one I'd found weeks ago, only this time, perfectly clean, gleaming in the sunlight. I picked it up, smiled, and dropped it straight into the water. "Rest now," I said. That night, I hosted a little community meeting, invited everyone, left on the block burgers, drinks, music, the works. We laughed about the old days, told stories about the fines and the flyers, and when the sun went down, someone played soft jazz through a speaker. Everyone froze for a second, then I said, "Relax, it's just a song." And we all laughed. For the first time, this place felt human again. No forms, no fear, no pink blazers at my gate. Just neighbors and peace. But as the night ended, and I walked back to my porch, I noticed something odd. On my mailbox, the new, regulation perfect one, someone had taped a note. No handwriting, just printed words. "We appreciate your compliance." No signature, no logo, just that. I laughed, tore it off, and tossed it in the fire pit. But when the paper burned, I swear I heard a soft chuckle, the kind that hides behind a smile. After that last note burned, I thought it was over. No fines, no gossip, no pink blazer in sight. Just calm, the kind that makes you think maybe you won. But peace in this neighborhood never lasts long. About a month later, I started getting mail again, not HOA letters this time, just blank envelopes, inside each one, a single sheet of paper. Page 1, the bylaws live forever. Page 2, respect the code. Page 3, meeting soon. No return address, no stamps, just slipped into my box overnight. I laughed at first, probably some bored neighbor trying to spook me. Then I noticed something. Each note was printed on old HOA stationery, the same logo they'd used before the board collapsed, the same paper the president used for her violation notices. I checked with the post office. They said none of those letters came through them. They just appeared. I told myself to ignore it, focus on work, fish sleep. But one night, I came home from the store and found my porch light blinking. On, off, on. I flipped the switch inside, it stopped. But when I stepped outside again, there it was. A stack of papers on my chair, all stapled together. The old HOA rulebook. Except this time, every single page had one new sentence scribbled in red ink. We never left. That's when I knew whatever this was, it wasn't about property anymore, it was about power. Somebody wanted the HOA alive again, and they were using her ghost to do it. So I called Ron. He sounded nervous even before I said hello. Yay, I've been getting them too. He said same handwriting, same red ink. I asked him, you think it's her? He went quiet, then whispered, I think it's someone who misses her. Next day, we met at the old pavilion by the lake. It looked smaller now, broken chairs, spider webs, graffiti that said no more rules. We started going through the notes and noticed something odd. The handwriting wasn't exactly the same as Hayes' clothes, but a little shakier, like someone trying to copy her. And at the bottom of one page, we saw a name. Linda K. Not the president's name, a board member's wife. I remembered Linda. She was quiet during meetings, always sat in the back, nodding, smiling politely. I thought she was harmless. Guess I was wrong. We drove by her house, curtains closed, yard perfect. Too perfect, like someone keeping up appearances for a dead audience. I left a note on her porch. No more meetings. Let it go. That night, she replied, slid her own note under my door. The lake wants order. I swear, I felt the air go cold reading that line. The next few nights, things started happening again. Sprinklers turning on at 3 a.m., patio lights flickering, jazz faintly playing from nowhere. I tried recording it, but every time I hit record, silence. It was like the lake itself knew when I was watching. Then one evening, I saw her silhouette across the water. Not the president, Linda. Standing by the shore in the dark, holding something. Maybe that same binder of rules. She shouted across the lake, you think you can erase what she built? I shouted back, it's over, Linda. Move on. She laughed, high-pitched, almost echoing. Then she threw the binder straight into the lake and walked away. Next morning, the binder was gone, but floating near my dock was one page. Wet, wrinkled, but readable. Rule number 1, no one leaves the HOA. I burned that page, watched the ink bubble and curl, and for the first time, I didn't hear laughter, just the hiss of paper turning to ash. Maybe that was the real ending, maybe it wasn't. Now tell me, if your neighborhood tried to rise from the dead, would you fight to keep the peace you earned, or let the rules come back just to stop the haunting? Because honestly, I'm starting to think the HOA never needed meetings to control us, only fear. It's been 6 months since the last letter. The lake's calm again, no notes, no whispers, no rules. Just silence, the kind that feels earned. I fixed the gate, painted the porch, planted flowers where her car once got stuck. Sometimes I even forget there ever was an HOA. Until one morning, I got a knock. Slow, rhythmic, too polite to be random. I opened the door, no one there. Just a clipboard resting against the frame, old rusty, but mine now. On it, one sheet of paper. Annual meeting, attendance required. I almost laughed, but my hand was shaking when I picked it up. At the bottom, a signature, not Hayes, not Linda's. Just the lake board. Never heard of it, but I knew exactly what it meant. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I did what any stubborn man would do. I grabbed a flashlight, a thermos of coffee, and went down to the pavilion. The air was thick, smelled like rain and memories. Chairs arranged in a perfect circle, name tags on each one, every single tag labeled resident. All of them the same. I sat down anyway because part of me needed closure. Across the lake, lights flickered, reflected like tiny eyes watching. Then, a sound, soft, steady, like footsteps on wet wood. I turned and saw someone walking along the dock. Pink blazer, gold earring, glinting face hidden by shadow. She stopped halfway and said in that same calm, sugary tone, "You kept the neighborhood clean." I couldn't breathe. I wanted to speak, but nothing came out. She smiled. "You finally learned to follow rules." And then she turned, stepped off the dock, and vanished into the water without a sound. The next morning, the lake was still again, no ripples, no music. Just that same clipboard floating by the shore. I pulled it out and saw one last message written in faint ink. "Meeting adjourned." That's when I realized maybe the HOA didn't die, maybe it just went somewhere deeper, somewhere rules never end, only change. I kept the clipboard, hung it inside the lake house right above the fireplace, a reminder that peace is never free and some debts get paid in silence. Now tell me, if you were in my shoes, and the ghost of your HOA finally said meeting adjourned, would you believe it was over? Or would you keep one chair empty, just in case someone else shows up with a smile and a clipboard? Comment below, and tell me if you think the lake really let me go, or if I'm still attending the longest HOA meeting in history.